purchase it.
Yeah, you got the cheap one.
Yeah, I'll have to purchase one.
Well, I have one now. It's the one you got.
Which is why I have to purchase
one. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Children's Tales Helping Adults Prevail. My name is Kyle Evans, and this is
Casey Evans.
And together we are the Brothers Evans. So this next one, Casey, I've got a really good one for you. So if you remember last week, we talked about the ugly duckling.
Mm-hmm.
This one is another throwback that I don't believe a lot of people may remember off the top of their head, yet I think it's juicy.
Yeah,
so
when you suggested it, I had to take a second to even remember what it was about.
Sure. I mean, there was a Disney hit on it, The Emperor's New Groove, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is not quite the same thing. It's definitely a different spin. This one, The Beloved Tale, is actually called The Emperor's New Clothes.
Mm-hmm.
So the story goes like this, right? There's this super happy kingdom, lots of fun, constant travelers, people going in and out. And then one day, these two dudes show up. And they claim to be weavers, the best weavers in the land who could make the finest garments and had just all these amazing things to say about their superpowers of weaving.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the emperor at the time loved clothes. Like, he would spend all his money on it. He would do that more than anything. Like, he would change clothes like 10 times a day, right? Like, he looked fly. He was like Mr. GQ of the nation. That was his jam. So he was like, I need these weavers. These are my people. So he went to the weavers. He was like, yo, what's the best thing you got? And they're like, ooh, we got you, boo. So they're like, look, we make this fine clothing. It's super light. You almost can't even feel it. And it's got a special thing with it. The emperor's like, ooh, go on. And they said, its superpower is people who are stupid or undeserving of their station, the clothes show up as invisible. And so the emperor was like, bet, that's me. He was like, I want that because guess what? It's going to let me see all the people who are stupid, and it's going to show me who doesn't deserve their job in my kingdom. So he gave them a ton of money. He was like, yes, I want that. So they get to work. So they're weaving. And the funny thing is, there doesn't appear to be anything on their weaves, anything on their looms. It doesn't seem like they're actually doing anything. It's like they're just in there grinding out, going through the motions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing it, and now the emperor's wondering what's going on with these clothes, right? He's like, man, I wonder what the progress looks like. And also he thinks in the back of his mind, he's like, well, what if I don't see anything when I go in there? Better send someone in there first. So he has this super honest, super loyal dude, and he sends him in there to check it out. The super honest guy walks in, and the weavers are like, well, what do you think? Look at this. And he didn't see anything. And he immediately freaked out. He was like, oh no, I don't see it. Crap. Am I stupid, Brian? And do I not deserve my job? He's like, what do I do? So in an instant, he just looked at those weavers dead in the eye and said, it is beautiful. The colors are amazing, right? So he just went along with it. He didn't want to be caught as a fraud, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the weavers just ate it up. They were like, yes, you're right. Look at the patterns. It's so beautiful. Yes, we're amazing. Ha ha. And so the minister went back to the emperor and was like, yo, that is one fine outfit they are making for you. It is beautiful, right? So he's churching it up because he don't want to get caught out. So the emperor's getting excited. He's like, sweet, this is going to be incredible. So then a little bit goes by. The emperor sends a second dude by. His other trusty guy's like, man, go check on this stuff. That guy walks in there and he doesn't see a thing. Just these two weavers messing around. They're like, yeah, like, look, the other guy loved it too. What do you think? And he's like, well, I know I'm not stupid. I'm one of the smartest dudes in the kingdom. So it must mean I don't deserve my job.
Mm-hmm.
Can't have anybody know that. So he was like, oh my goodness, your work is breathtaking. This is the best stuff I've ever seen, right? And the weavers just ate it up again. They were like, yeah, hey, by the way, go tell the emperor we need more fine silk and some more gold so we can continue making this stuff. So the emperor paid him again, gave him some more stuff. And obviously they pocketed it, being the smart dudes they are. Well, more time passed and it came time for the big reveal. So the emperor had a huge parade planned. Everybody has, the word's gotten out, right? The word's gotten out about the superpower of the clothing and how amazing it is. And so people are gathered near and far and they're ready to check this emperor's new clothes, if you will. So the emperor walks in, and wouldn't you know it, doesn't see a thing. And now he's freaking out, right? He's like, oh, goodness. Maybe I don't deserve to be emperor. Well, better not let anybody know. 2 of my trusted people have already seen it. Like, I can't be the guy now. I can't be the weak link in the chain. So he's like, hey, guys, this looks amazing. I can't wait to put this on. And so the weavers are even like pretending to hold it up, right? They're like, check this out. This is your scarf, right? Here's your pants over here. They're like, why don't you take your clothes off and we'll put it on you? It's as light as a cobweb. And so the emperor's like, all right, dude, let's roll. So the emperor adorns this stuff butt naked, right? He's just hanging out with his fancy clothes and start the parade. Bro, everybody knew that they were either stupid or didn't deserve their job. So the entire kingdom is like, oh my gosh, that looks so amazing. And everyone's buying it. Everyone's like, yes, it looks so great. So the emperor's just strutting his stuff in his birthday suit, if you will, down the middle of Main Street. And then finally, a little kid goes, hey, everybody, what are you talking about? The emperor's not wearing anything. And sure enough, man, everyone in that moment realized how silly and stupid they were being. And they were like, he's not wearing anything. And then the masses were like, he's not wearing anything. He's not wearing anything. And so the emperor, man, he's already all bought in now. He just kept on going. He was like, whatever. And then just rolled through, man. And that's the end of that story. Wild, right? Wild. So now that we know what we're talking about today, now that we have an idea of the story, Kyle's version of the Emperor's New Groove or the Emperor's New Clothes, excuse me, Disney. What do you think? What are some takeaways, man? What do you think the moral of that story is?
So I think there's a couple morals. I kind of broke down, I took some notes on this. A lot of my stuff, I broke it down to the king and the kid. So so for the king, I feel that vanity and pride, and so much so of not wanting to be, look the fool, made him, not only cost him money, cost him looking like a fool in front of the entire kingdom, looking stupid.
Fat stacks of money.
So right, so he lost a lot. He wore it proudly, but that doesn't necessarily serve us as wearing our foolishness proudly. So that's the king. For the kid, standing up to the crowd, standing up for what you believe in. Sure. Even if it's an unpopular opinion or something that you don't think is, gonna go over well with the masses. You just, hey man, speak your truth. And the truth was that the king wasn't wearing any clothes, that he had been duped, and that the whole kingdom was on the verge of being duped until one kid spoke up. So I think the moral for that is that, speak your mind, speak what you believe.
I like that, man. I like that. I'd like to take the kid one a step further and just talk about the importance. Like kids say the darndest things, right? It's because they have childlike innocence. It's because they don't care what you think. They don't care if they look silly. They don't care. They're just going to be themselves, right? I mean, there's so much that adults can take away from just the carelessness, or I should not carelessness, carefree attitude that kids take with the world, right? Like this kid is sitting there like, you guys are wild. This dude is naked. Like, do you not see this guy's naked? Like, come on. And then just having the chutzpah to say something about it, right? I mean, that's a big deal. And then like you said, the king, right? woof. Your boy got played hard.
He got taken and then he got embarrassed in front of everybody. So
Yeah. And then, what's the saying? It's like lies just lead to more lies.
right. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And that just happened over and over and over again, and until it just became this big thing that the entire world, the entire kingdom was now just all on, because no one wanted to be the person who looked dumb.
Mm-hmm.
There's something we talk about in coaching a lot, and it's that people, the majority of people, crave two things. It's to look good and be right.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people miss the mark for asking questions that they really need the answer to, that could really change their life, their business, their home, because they don't want to look stupid.
So I put that in like personal takeaways for the kid. Like I said, the king, the kid and the king. So for my kid, I said, don't let the fear of being foolish stop you from speaking up. You don't always have to be right. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Right.
In this case, he's questioning the whole, kingdom and, the silliness of it all. But in your personal life, with individuals, if you don't understand something, if you think like he did not understand why everyone was saying that this king looks glorious, if you don't understand something, don't be afraid to ask questions. It doesn't have to be some grandstand. It literally can just be, hey, I don't understand this. I need to know more. I need to learn more about myself, about what's going on. So when you said questions, that's exactly what I had down here for the kid is, don't let the fear of being foolish stop you from asking questions.
Right. Because here's the other side. If you're scared to be foolish, you end up being the fool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. The fear of being seen as foolish ends up driving you to be the fool. Mm-hmm. You end up having a self-fulfilling prophecy coming true because you were scared to be a fool, scared to ask questions. Man, that's wild. That's a good story, dude. So how can this show up in our personal lives?
So, first of all, like I said, for the kid, about asking questions, I touched on that. But another thing that I have for the kid is don't always follow the crowd. Oftentimes, we fall into the bystander effect where everyone starts doing something or doesn't not doing something is typically how it presents, and we just also don't do it. And even though we know it might be wrong to not, and that often has pretty adverse effects in our lives and for perhaps the situation that's going on. So that's one thing that I would say is like, don't always follow the crowd. Trust your instincts.
If little Johnny jumped off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge too?
Yeah.
Probably.
Depends on the bridge.
Depends on the bridge.
And so that's also,
I don't know. Is Susie watching?
Everything comes down to often it depends. Nothing that we say here it can be taken as absolute truth, because matter of fact, I wrote some reversals down for this tale. So there's going to be things that times where some of this stuff might not be applicable.
Someone said this one time, and I don't know where it's from. I'm sure it's been repeated in various ways throughout time. It's that a person is not dumb. The mob is.
So a person's not dumb, but people are dumb.
People are dumb, right? A person, an individual is not dumb. People are. Because and it goes back to the two things, right? We don't want to look dumb, and we want to be right? We want to look good and be right. And so because of that, we give up what we know and what we know is true for that mob mentality.
Okay, and I got another personal takeaway. This one's from the king side. So for the king, lastly, when we're down in the midst of all the issues and everyone knows we're naked, the first thing I say is it's okay to admit that you're wrong.
Ooh.
It's okay to say, you know what, I got taken. That was a blunder.
Whoops.
And there was a lot of fear packed into that as well. He didn't want to say that he couldn't, they didn't understand the magic of these clothes or whatever, or didn't see what everyone said they saw, which was nothing, by the way. So yeah, don't be scared to admit that you're wrong. It can often lead to better results. For instance, if the king would have been like, you know what, after, or actually better, if one of the other servants would have said,
yeah,
you know what, king, actually, I was wrong. That wasn't true what I told you. It would have saved the king the embarrassment of the kingdom as well as a lot of money.
I kind of I understand it though. Just, and we were talking about this the other day. Someone was talking about a teacher who was one of the best teachers that they've ever known. And the teacher got in trouble for, I don't know, something, right? Wasn't doing something the way that PC or should have been done. And ever since then, the teacher just walks a fine line. It's almost like the fire, the passion is gone. It's a completely different teacher, right? And I was telling them, and they were like, man, I can't believe that. And I was like, well, how about a little empathy here? Like, what if, that's his only means for providing for himself and his family? So like I put myself in that position, like, heck, maybe he realized that he was in such a spot that passion is secondary to survival. Right. And so like for the minister, it's like the honest minister, it's like, man, what if that was like, he's like, dude, if I don't have this role, I can't feed my kids. And so I'm going to sacrifice my integrity, right, to take care of my family. Like, that's a whole nother thought.
So that's a little bit of the kind of what I had down for one of the things for the reversal, is sometimes maybe you do need to be quiet, and actually that kind of takes me into, if you let me, if ready to segue into some business applications.
Sure.
So for the kid, speaking up was great. And I do believe that you should challenge the status quo, not just to be disruptive, but for value, to add growth, to add potential for your company, for your business. Don't just be a negative force or speak up just to speak up, to be, combative.
Right.
But the warning with that is, the king could have just as easily said, off with his head.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, you have something to say about my clothes? You dare deign me naked? No, he's gone. He's out of here. So sometimes when that little mole pops up, it gets bonked, the mole gets waxed. So yeah, so there is a level of that that has to be, thought through. And
so there's a book, and I know you've read it, and for our listeners out there, it's called The 48 Laws of Power. It's by Robert Greene. Right. And one of the laws of power is never outshine the master.
Okay. So I was actually going to, if you want to expand on that, I have another law from the 48 Laws of Power that applies.
So like never outshine the master, right? You gotta, and it's a fine line, kind of what you said, like don't be disruptive just to be disruptive. Right? Don't say that he's naked. Don't bring it up out of a spot of ego, right? As long as you're doing it out of something to actually be of service, right? Bringing value, coming from contribution, and doing it humbly. There's one thing I think a lot of times in our world, a lot of this generations that we're seeing, we're disruptive just to be disruptive. As opposed to truly coming from care, truly coming from contribution.
Right. I think, and you see it a lot with, technology and stuff like that. The truly disruptive things are things that add growth and add value. Yeah. And that's the kind of disruption you want to be making when you're doing these type of things, not just to be combative, not to just be dissenting, just because you don't like necessarily the way somebody does business or the way that somebody does anything.
Sure.
Because guess what? We're all different people, and there are going to be different things that we handle differently, do differently, whatever. And neither of those have to be wrong. They're just two paths to the same the same destination.
There's more than one way to skin a cat, young man.
There certainly is. So, but now that we're on the 48 Laws of Power, Law 24, I had to look up which number it was, but the first thing that came to mind was play the perfect courtier.
Ooh,
And so
Casanova.
this kind of goes into the same thing, is, um it is kind of important to win the favor of the king,
Sure.
and so that you can actually, it doesn't always pay to be the dissenter.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it does pay to just go along to get along, until you do have, that trust, and that you've built some equity into the company, or into your friendship, or into your relationship, to where you can, actually affect change, when they realize that you do have their best interest at heart, or that you are somebody that cares about what they're doing. So, you may have never gotten there if you were always being a dissenter.
Sure.
Whether it was for growth or not, if somebody's always challenging them, before they get that level of trust with you, your challenges may just seem simply as challenges, instead of actually things that could help their business.
Right.
Which, so once you get to that point, now you can challenge without fear of recourse. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, if you're always doing something, that's what you're always going to be known as. So if you're always challenging, even if it is out of value, they're just like, oh my God, all right, here comes Frank again. Gosh, right. Frank,
so
what do you got now?
Lose what you're trying to gain.
The chief officer of dissent.
Right.
Yeah, that's good, man. I like that. And here's another reversal on what you're talking about. Like, you even talked about earning the right into that relationship to be able to present those negative things. Well, specifically the never outshine the master. Man, he earned his right into that relationship. What was it? Napoleon and Telluride, right? And he still, you might even still earn your way into the relationship and still not be okay to say the things, right? So I think part of earning the relationship is also studying the relationship, studying the way that person perceives information.
Yep.
And figuring out the best course, their love language, if you will, their communication style, and the best way to offer that thought, that dissent, that disruption, that going against the status quo, like our kid in the story so valiantly did.
So, yeah, I don't have much more to say about the kid, but I do want to touch on the king a bit more.
One more thing on the kid.
Okay.
Let's extrapolate just a wee bit here. Let's dream a little bit. Those weavers, in one swoop, with one outfit, made a fortune and completely changed the way the town itself thought. If that kid didn't say anything, how, to what end, right? How much further would that have gone? Like, how many generations, right, could have been affected by this thought process and these weavers? Like, they could have made their own weavers guild after that, just constantly taking and taking and taking and changing the way. And now everyone's living in fear not to say the wrong thing, or else they're going to be outcast.
Right.
Like, that kid might have really changed the course of that kingdom's entire history. So, like, your voice that you might be too scared to say, or too scared to raise your hand because you might be outcasted, might be the one that literally changes everything. So I think that's a big, deep piece of it too that may often get overlooked, is that kid's bravery literally changed the perception of the entire kingdom.
Well, and that's another thing too, is that's a great end actually. But that's another thing too, and you often hear it like in classes and stuff like that, that encourage you to ask questions. Chances are the question you have, someone else has.
Yes.
And so when you talk about him being like brave enough to ask or say something, that's like critically important, is, it's okay, because chances are someone else, okay, Google exists because people need to ask questions or whatever. And guess what? You're not the first person to search that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So there's one of the biggest companies in the entire world is built on people searching to ask questions. So if you have a question, just ask.
That's a great thing, man. That's something that I think a lot of good instructors and good facilitators create a safe spot, a safe place in their classes to ask questions, right? Because just like you said, man, if you got that question, odds are at least one other person has that question too.
Yeah, and I like that you said that about facilitators and stuff like that. But even down to just any sort of CEO, down to anybody managing a team or anything like that, make sure that you're creating those type of environments where people aren't afraid to, they don't have necessarily again have to be a challenge to you, but that they're not afraid to ask you questions,
Yeah.
and it could just be simple as reaching out to your group and saying, do you guys have any questions about the way that we do things or why we do the way that
The
we do
why,
things?
right?
Because a lot of times people, bosses, they get into it. It's like, do this because I told you to do this. And the boss does have reasons and may not always be, applicable to share them. But sometimes it is a smart idea to say why or to allow people to ask why. Um, I feel like explaining things, because a lot of times, like, again, there's more than one way to skin a cat, like you said.
Sure.
And so we get into this situation where somebody's like, well, this is my way, whatever, and blah, blah. But you, being in your position, may have already tried their way,
right?
Discovered this way to be better, or have seen some of the pitfalls of their way. And so that's why we do it this way, because I've already tried it your way 100 times, and 99 of those 100 didn't work out, or maybe that one time I find out it didn't work out, whereas this way works 100% of the time, so I want to do the more effective way. You know what I'm saying? And so maybe they've already been down your road, and they can explain that to you, if you just ask.
Well, and here's the thing, I love what you're saying, and the business takeaway is, I definitely think creating a safe environment to challenge or to question things, right? Because here's the thing, the CEO may be also misled.
Right.
The CEO himself may see this. The emperor in the story was not Machiavellian or like malicious in this. Mm-hmm. Like, he wasn't like, I know it's fake, F everybody anyway. He thought that he was right, and he just was inadequate. Right. So like, even the CEO may, under the best pretenses, truly believe that it's the best way, and it still may not be.
Right. Yeah. I like that take.
Good one.
So going back to the CEO and the king.
Sure.
I have another business takeaway, and this is, to me, the easiest standout as far as a business application, as the king, as the CEO, as somebody looking to start a business, somebody looking to engage in a business with somebody else. Do your due diligence.
Yes.
Don't take everything at face value. Make sure that you are going to and learning about, even if you're just, as a bare minimum, a job applicant, and you're going to apply somewhere, go learn about the business that you're applying at. Go try and figure out, read recent articles about them. Learn, if you can, about the work environment. There's a lot of things that you can do from all levels of business to make sure that you're informed and making the best possible decision. You're never going to know everything, but do your due diligence. If that king would have done his due diligence, I think he wouldn't have been in the position that he found himself in.
We have a saying in my world, and it's called trust yet verify.
Yes.
Here's the thing, though. The king tried to verify. He sent his boy. You know what I mean? He sent his dude, who was the honest guy. So, I mean, he did his due diligence, right? And he still got bamboozled. Something to think about.
Yeah. I mean, so that's the thing. You can only make the most informed decision that you can.
Sure. Based on data, research, sound judgment, right? Like, you can, and that's the other thing too, that I want to make sure that I look at you in the eyeballs when I say this. Sometimes in life, you're going to fail. You can do all the research in the world. You can make the sound judgment, the best judgment, and have the best intentions, and even have trusted people verifying with you, and you still might fail. And it's going to happen, and that's okay. What matters is what you do next, right? What you do next. And that is actually one of the profound things about The Emperor's New Clothes is the emperor, in that moment when everybody was like, you're naked, he knew then. He was like, I am naked. And he said, you know what? Whatever.
Yeah,
whatever.
Okay.
I'm just going to wear it. I failed, and I'm just going to wear it. And I'm going to finish this parade the best way that I can.
I failed, but I'm going to keep my head held high.
Yes.
And I'm going to move on to the next thing.
Exactly.
He went about his day. He finished the parade. He ran the race, and
he said, I'm taking my lumps, like Game of Thrones. Shame. Shame. He shamed it all the way through, all the way to the Red Keep, and he just next up.
Yep. Nope. I do like that aspect.
See, the Brothers Evans bringing hot takes. Hot takes. Anything else, man?
Let me see. I think we covered most of the stuff I took notes about. So I don't think I have any more on the Emperor's New Clothes.
So make sure you guys let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any other ideas, any other thoughts, any other comments, or you have some deeper extrapolations that you'd like to take, let us know. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, definitely want to hear your takes on these stories, and if you have any other, especially obscure children's tales to check out, we want to check them out and give our takes and hear your takes.
Sure. So look, thank you for coming to another episode. As always, we're honored to have you, and we love bringing old, maybe forgotten wisdoms back up that we can use and apply to our lives, our businesses, and our personal lives. And so with that, I'm Kyle Evans.
I'm Casey Evans.
And we are the Brothers Evans. Until we see you again, drink the good wine.